Hi guys, welcome back to another video. Now, many of y'all have obviously realized that we've crossed the halfway mark in the year 2023. And before we started this year, I put out this video saying, is it worth coming to the UK in the year 2023? And I just thought it is a good time for us to revisit this because obviously many of y'all are here who are looking for jobs in the UK, potentially looking to come into the UK as a student in September 2023's intake, but also might be looking at coming into the UK in the next year, or are even potentially trying to join your spouses as dependents while you come into the UK in this year or in the next year. So if you are one of these people and are trying to come into the UK either this year or in the next year, I think this video is going to be really informative for you, because in today's video we will not only be discussing what are some of the challenges people in the UK are facing at the minute, but I will be giving you the live situation and the breakdown of what is happening in terms of accommodation, so in terms of finding accommodation and renting. I will also be talking to you about what's happening with the healthcare system in the UK and what are the sort of timelines that we're looking at while we wait for doctor's appointments. And finally, we will also be talking about universities and what's happening in terms of how easily you would be able to find a job once you graduate. So if any of this is interesting to you, do not forget to watch this video all the way to the end. But if you are new to my channel, do not forget to like, share and subscribe. So let's dive into the content for today's video. Coming down to the first point, which is obviously something that influences many of y'all when y'all think about moving to a new country, which is accommodation. So many of y'all have been aware that obviously the cost of accommodation has been increasing overall generally within the UK, irrespective of whether you choose to live in London or outside London or even in Scotland maybe. That being said, even though there has been a steady rise, recently there have been reports that the rent will start to gradually reduce. However, truth to be said, I haven't seen this reduce yet. I have been searching for accommodation myself, and it had taken me quite some time, and it was much trickier this time around, especially considering that I have lived in the UK for the last 2 to 2.5 years. However, it was really a struggle to try and find accommodation. So let's just see what is some of the sort of general evidence that is available to sort of support this stand. As you can see right here on your screen, this is something that was shared by the Financial Times in the UK, which says that the UK annual rent increase set a new record of 12 consecutive months up to April this year, according to the Office for National Statistics going back to 2016. And while the pace of the annual rent of growth seems to be slowing down, tenants will continue to struggle as their already unaffordable rents keep rising. So as you can see, the rental market right now continues to grow over the entirety of the UK, so it's not limited to a single geographical region. The article further goes on to say that this is the worst supply and demand balance that they have ever seen, and in April the agency had 97,000 tenants chasing over just 20,000 available properties, and this was recommended, or this was the value sort of placed by Zoopla, which is one of the leading rental agencies across the UK. So again, it's not only limited to London but across the UK, and you can see the sort of discrepancy that's already existing. So no wonder people will just sort of go view a property, and if they really like it, they pay the deposit for it and it's taken off the market. Because of this, many tenants are struggling to find properties within the UK, and obviously landlords are realizing this and they are increasing the prices of property across the UK. So this can be a potential struggle for you, especially if you are someone who's planning to come into the UK in the next sort of few months or in the next year. Now, if you are someone who is definitely looking for rental property in the UK, or are potentially trying to find yourself a new place to move into the UK, you would know that there are several sites out there. And if you are confused about any of this, please do not forget to check out this video where I've listed down all of the top sites, and I've even provided you with a link of how you navigate through the easiest website and the website that I've used to find my properties in the past, known as Spare Rooms. But let me just pull up the screenshot from Spare Rooms, and as you can see on the screenshot, London and the southeast of England has the highest rates of rental properties in the UK at the minute. And obviously if you see the middle region, that's the yellow sort of bits, those are the region with the lowest cost of rental properties in the UK. So now again, if you are sort of trying to migrate to the UK, and if you are looking for universities or if you are looking for work, try to think about it more realistically before you try and find a place for yourself. Because obviously if you try to move into London, where already the market is so densely populated with many renters trying to find even a small single room or a double room, it's going to be hard for you to find a property within that space, within the budget that you're looking for. Because obviously, keep in mind, if you are somebody recently trying to move into the UK, or if you're somebody newly trying to move into the UK, it's going to be hard for you to have the deposit money ready, have a guarantor ready, have other things that are required in order to lock down on a property within the UK. So definitely consider moving to areas that are more less densely populated. Use this map as your reference if you need more information, but also try and use the video that I've made previously. That being said, let me just let you know that on an average, it takes an individual nearly about a month to 2 months to find a suitable property for themselves within their specified budget, with or without bills. So keep that in mind and start your searches early, guys. Alright, so now coming down to the second most point when you think about is it worth migrating to the UK is healthcare. Now, obviously, many of y'all, when you think about moving from countries such as India or US or even Pakistan, Bangladesh, etc., you know that there are very strong private healthcare systems within these countries, and obviously, if you can afford it, there's nothing like it for you. But when you come into the UK, we have something known as the NHS, which is the National Healthcare Service. Now, obviously, this is brilliant because this is provided by the government and you can access this for nearly no cost at all. So it's a free service that is available to most of the population within the UK, irrespective of the different areas you sort of live in. And it has been absolutely fabulous over the last few years. However, since the pandemic has hit the UK, the NHS has struggled quite a lot in terms of providing appointments and also in terms of providing diagnostic tests such as x-rays, CT scans, or even things like elective surgeries, for example, knee replacements. But that being said, let's just see some of the resources available on the net about what has been happening to the NHS and how long are the waiting times, especially if you are somebody who's planning to come into the UK. So as you can see on your screens right now, the title of this article says, Britain's NHS was once idealized, but now it's the worst ever crisis in fueling a boom in private healthcare systems. So, as you can appreciate the fact that obviously many people in the UK are now choosing to move over to private healthcare because they feel that the NHS is not sufficiently meeting their needs. According to this article, as you can see right there, nearly 7.2 million patients in the England were waiting for non-urgent, that is elective medical care. And obviously, this spans diagnostic tests and scans, but also procedures such as hip and knee replacements, cardiac surgery, cancer treatments, and neurosurgery. So, if it was not an urgent problem, people were made to wait, and this was nearly 7.2 million people. The article further goes on to say that up to 4 lakh people have been on the list for nearly 18 weeks, according to the NHS data, for nearly over a year. So, if you were on a waiting list within the NHS, your wait times could be nearly up to a year, especially if you're waiting for one of these sort of diagnostic tests or surgeries. Now, obviously, to avoid these waiting lists, many people have now gone ahead and joined the private healthcare. But that just means that you need to be making sure that you will be paying private medical insurance, which is again quite a lot considering the fact that you would have to pay for it on a monthly basis or an annual basis. So, my recommendations would be again, when you think about coming to the UK, have a clear idea about what is your healthcare condition, what are the supports that are available to you, do you need any medication or do you need any special things put in place for yourself before you come over here. But also, if you are coming into the UK, make sure that you register with a GP as soon as you land over here. If you have any symptoms, reach out to the doctor, because obviously the systems in the UK are much different from the systems back home, whether it's India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, or any other country that you come from. Just another thing that I want to draw your attention to is what happens in cases of emergencies in the UK. So obviously, in case of an emergency, say an accident or something that is really serious, you would obviously go to the A&E department, which is the accidents and emergency department. But even within the UK, this sort of department is being triaged. So even if you enter this department, there can be a wait time sometimes for you. I recently know of a friend who had undergone a car accident, and luckily she was not seriously injured and she just had a ligament sprain in her neck, which was fine, she could wait, but she was in terrible pain while she was waiting in the A&E department, and she had to wait nearly for 6 hours before she was given a scan and medications. So that being said, please be aware that obviously these can be some of the problems that you face when you come into the UK in the next year or in the year following. So do not have these assumptions that obviously because the UK offers free healthcare, you will be given Kings like service and you will be seen immediately. There are waiting times, there are waiting lists, and obviously if you are somebody who comes with these unrealistic expectations in the UK, you are going to be widely disappointed. So please set realistic expectations for yourself before you come into the UK, guys. All right, so now moving on to the third point, which is what about jobs in the UK, Nikita? Now, this is a very valid question. Obviously, even if you come as a student, or even if you're looking to work in the UK as a healthcare professional, or as somebody who's looking for a work visa in the UK. Now, let me inform you that obviously there are two kinds of jobs that you want to search for yourself. Either it could be part time jobs or full time jobs, and we're going to be discussing a little bit about both. So when it comes to sort of part-time jobs in the UK, especially if you're a student or if you're on a dependent visa and you want to look for something more temporary, these are a great way to boost your income and also sort of provide you with the basic funds that you need to sort of start living in the UK. That being said, obviously in terms of the national living wage, this has obviously gone up in this year alone, and it's now sort of increased to nearly £11 an hour if you are above 25 years. So that's one of the greatest things I would say there is to talk about in terms of part-time jobs. I know from personal experience and speaking to people around me, it takes people nearly 1 to 2 months to find themselves a part-time job in the UK. So say for example, you're a student who's coming in the 2023's intake in the UK. I would say give yourself at least 2 to 3 months, if not 4 months. Have those funds in your account to sustain yourself without a job, because like I said, it will take some time for you to find a job in the UK. And this is not a problem, it just is a hurdle or a challenge in your path. So do not be disheartened. Keep those funds aside, not only for your rental and accommodation costs, but even for your groceries and your travel expenses for the first 3 to 4 months, just so that you will be able to sort of support yourself when you come into the UK. Now, that being said, you can even find a job quicker. It just depends on your luck, and it just depends on how consistently you are making those job applications. Now, if you are somebody who's again confused about how to make job applications or where you even look for a part-time job, please do not forget to check out this video where I've explained all of that in massive details, and I've even spoken you through what are the steps that you need to take before you start applying for jobs. So definitely check out this video, guys. But right, coming down to the full-time job scenario and what that's looking like in the UK right now. So obviously, as you are aware, the UK is in a recession at the minute, and that is not to say that the UK is the only country in the world that is going through a recession. Obviously, there are many other countries going through a recession as well, and the global economy sort of looks the same, irrespective of wherever you are. But that being said, let me just pull up this article which speaks about how easy it is for you to find a job in the UK. So as you can see on your screens right there, it says that the official statistics aren't really in your favor, and while the British economy is still indeed strong and there are plenty of jobs out there, the unemployment rates are the highest they have been in the last 5 years. And at the same time, in comparison to 2019, there are 30% fewer job openings available. But that's exactly what this is, statistics. And like I said, it will take some time for the job market to pick up and for you to potentially get jobs within your own fields in the UK. However, do not take this as a matter of being discouraged. Take this as an opportunity to probably find yourself and maybe grow some of the skills that you need to get placed within the jobs of your own liking, of your own education levels. So obviously use this time to build the skills that you need, grow on the areas that you need to progress, maybe learn to speak better English. Also, the other thing I would say just in terms of jobs are people usually from the Asian communities tend to gather within specific regions where they know their communities are stronger. For example, London, Manchester, Birmingham, where you will see a lot of Asian, Pakistani, Indians, Bangladeshi people. But there are other regions in the UK where there are lesser number of Indian or Pakistani communities that are thriving, but these are communities where jobs may be available for you based on your own sector. So do not be afraid to try and move out into these sectors and find jobs for yourself, because that's exactly where majority of the jobs are available, are open to immigrants, but usually immigrants are too scared to try and go into these spaces. Now, the other thing I wanted to tell you is obviously if you are considering to move into one of these spaces or into one of these locations for jobs, do consider the fact that you need to have basic level of English to obviously put forth your thoughts and understand the thoughts that are being conveyed to you by the people living over here. So obviously develop those skills, speak English as fluently and practice it as much as possible, even within your home countries or while you are preparing to come to the UK. But that's it for today's video, guys. I hope that gave you some insight into what is really happening in the UK right now, right in the middle of 2023, and what it's going to potentially look like if you were to immigrate to the UK in 2023 or in 2024. Take care, guys. Bye.